Hey friends, Dr. Devin here with Jingshin Healing Arts. I am between projects, so pardon the slightly messy hands. It's Friday, so we are in construction and project mode here at the clinic this weekend, and I'm sitting in our gym space trying to get this recorded. I'm working on a little bit of computer work between projects, and some of the what I want to share I think fits really nicely as a follow-up to some teasers and possibly some things that I've shared on our page in recent. And so I wanted to provide a little bit of context to that today. And yeah, just share with you guys what we're doing, what we're working on, what we're building, and all that good stuff. So hang with me. One of the things that we've talked about recently within our clinic, community, gym space is the merging of worlds. It feels like a weird thing to say and to talk about because they've never really been separate worlds for us, the Chinese medicine and the fitness. This has always been one unified, cohesive message. Anybody who takes a class with us probably feels that. We work a lot of mindset and mental health care into our physical practice of being in the gym. And patients know that we do talk about moving your body and finding those things that are keeping you healthy and moving. So, the idea of having a gym space is unique within our Chinese medicine worlds. I'm not sure if there are any other acupuncturists or doctors of Chinese medicine out there that are also cohesively running a gym and fitness space adjacent or in connection to their clinics. And most people in the CrossFit world, if there is a health and wellness connection, it is often through chiropractic care or through physical therapy, massage therapy, or even medical doctor land, those types of things. But you're also probably not seeing a lot of true Chinese medicine acupuncturist in the CrossFit and fitness space. We get to hold some weird hats in both places, and it's super cool and fun. And one of the original visions for us being able to do both was getting to merge these worlds. And so, to the outside person, these are two very individual things that are probably on their own very intimidating. There's some curiosity around it, but not a lot of knowledge and information. And when you get into the Chinese medicine world, the fact that we practice a classical version of the medicine and we practice five element, we're also a unique branch within our field as a whole. And those are bigger conversations for another day. So, as we have expanded our clinic, we are currently building three more treatment rooms. And the fitness space has moved directly next door and has grown. It's allowed us the opportunity to open up our space to start having workshops and in person offerings again outside of just group fitness classes that we run regularly. And so a couple weeks ago, we ran a mobility clinic where we did mobility and we served some tea out of our apothecary. And it was great. We had a wonderful turnout. We kind of A B tested the times at 8 a.m. and then 10:30 a.m. with our regular class at 9. And we had a wonderful turnout at both. And that was super cool. I wasn't really expecting that big of a turnout at 8. So the fact that we had equally as many people was really neat. And I think in total across both classes, we had 16 or 17 participants show up. And so what was cool about that is everyone that attended was connected to us in some way, shape, or form. And that was the whole reason we were wanting to do that and hoping to take care of our community in that way. It was open to outside people as well. We had some of our members and community connections did bring people with them, spouses, friends, which was neat. But ultimately, we wanted to cross connect all of this information. And for many of the people in the room, this was their first time experiencing me in the fitness. And it was, yeah, really cool to help people feel safe in their bodies, to move in new ways, to draw some connections to things that maybe they just hadn't thought about in whatever regards they had with life and movement and all of those things. And so, this, of course, was a mobility clinic. So we talked about mobility, what it actually means, the difference between stretching and doing mobility and flexibility and all that good stuff. And I'm happy to go into that more another time. But We also spent the time focused on hips and low back. And I told them at the end of this class that I would send them a follow up email with kind of a refresh of some of the stretches that we did and some notes to take away from the mobility chat in general. But we also wanted to follow up with some Chinese medicine talk. The workshop itself was about movement and getting them moving and actually doing the practices. And so, as much as I tend to talk and yammer, I did not want to take away from that by going into it in person unless it came up naturally. And so, part of what I want to share with you today is what we are sending to them. This was a much bigger email and comprehensive, but I think my primary interest in sharing this with you is I know we don't share a ton of specifics on our Chinese medicine page. It's a lot of us working behind the scenes, either in treatment with some life quotes overlaid and us making herbal formulas and all of that good stuff. But I want to give you a little insight into how our brains as practitioners work and also how we're pulling these two worlds together for people in conversation. And so the thing that I want to note before I'm actually going to read you part of what we're sending them is our clinic, we specialize in mental emotional health and trauma recovery. So we get a lot of patients that come in for physical things. They come in with shoulder pain, knee pain, back pain, digestive issues, sleep issues, hormone imbalances, all sorts of things. But 9 times out of 10, when somebody makes it in our door, they also have some sort of undercurrent of something else going on in life. And so our theory and philosophy within the five element world, to oversimplify it, is that unless there has been a direct physical trauma to an area, chances are their pains are stemming from something else. This may be something that they're consciously aware of. It may be subconscious. It may just be that the body had one event too much and tipped over. And now we're starting to see that show up and manifest through physical aches and pains. But I also tell patients all the time, we don't always need to psychoanalyze everything. And so I think what I want to share here, I'm going to use low back as an example because it was what we did in the workshop. But this is less about low back pain equals this, or that if you're living this lifestyle, this is why you have low back pain. It's never that simple, truthfully. But this is a question that kind of pops into our brains as we are navigating the onboarding with new patients. And it's a curiosity that should come up and stir as we continue to get to know someone. So again, their presence of this lifestyle does not equal low back pain, and their low back pain does not mean that this is entirely what is happening. But as we start to tease this with people, it lands more times than not. And in a group setting where we are careful to give too many generalizations, this is what that line is for us. And of course, if we're working with someone one-on-one, we're having very different conversations with them because we have more information in order to navigate that chat. So what I want to do here is actually read directly from my notes to you. And we'll wrap it up and we'll go from there. But when we started talking about mobility, what we shared with the low back. So low back sits close to what we think of as your deep reserves, the energy you're not actively spending, but drawing from underneath everything else that you do. When this area feels tired, weak, or achy, it's often less about the muscles working too hard and more about the reserve beneath it running low. Put simply, a tired or achy low back often reflects a body that is overworked and under-recovered. The tank is running low, even if you feel like you still have enough to keep going. Many people are pushing past what their bodies can sustainably support without realizing it. Here's where it gets interesting. Most people respond to this by pushing harder because there's still a list of things to get through. If that's you, the answer probably isn't do less. There's too much to get done for that to land as useful advice. The better question is, what can I add? Rest that is restorative, limiting movement that further drains, food that is nourishing rather than just fueling, and sleep that is long enough to matter. Sometimes the shifts are small, less forcing, more caring for what you already have. And when you can, take something off the plate because that helps too. Ask yourself, when my low back aches, am I responding by adding pressure or by adding support? Those are two very different directions, and one of them tends to work better than the other. We also broke this down for the hips and for mobility in general, but this is how we think about it when somebody comes into our clinic with low back pain. The thing that we start to ask and are wondering is, are they burning the candle at both ends? Not necessarily where can they do less, but where can they add more rest recovery to themselves? It's a challenging conversation to have with some individuals because there's a lot to do. There's things that have to get done, and there's only so many hours in the day. But when the low back starts getting tired and achy, especially again if there hasn't been trauma to the area, it is an interesting question of self. Are we overworking? And maybe we're not overworking, but we're under recovering. And if we're doing both, it's hitting us from both angles. When somebody comes into our gym space or our fitness space with low back pain, one of the things that we are careful to do is obviously form and technique and positioning, but we also want to make sure that they are moving in a way that is not asking too much of them. And so one of the things that I love about being able to hold a clinical space in the gym is just that, is knowing that is something that is happening. So them pushing through and pushing harder and going is in the long term potentially going to the movement may in itself feel good, but it is feeding the undercurrent of deficiency. And if we can help them move and find safety in movement and in their intensity, it has potential to give back to them instead of continuing to take from them. So it's a cool lens to be able to hold both hats. And it's something that I'm very grateful to be able to do. But I realized on here we've teased it a little bit and we've said it, but not a whole lot of context around it. And so I just wanted to share that. If you watched the whole thing, thank you for sticking this out. And yeah, if you have questions, let me know, whether it's about the acupuncture Chinese medicine side or how that translates into the fitness space. And yeah, lots of conversations to still be had. And can't wait to keep sharing with you all. So hope you're having a great Friday and we will chat soon.